We did it, Starshine! He's running away! Tuck your tail, you stinking bastard!
Can you hear me, Asuka? It's not too late. You can still stop this. Something was hidden deep within you. Only you can find it. I believe in you. I always have. Remember, only when no one loses, only then we can really win.
This 5th edition is brought to you by the Buffy Compact Disc Repair Tool. CD-ROMs and DVDs work like new. Just wind them up with Buffy. The Atari Jaguar was my first experience with a 64-bit console, but besides being faced to a controller with many more buttons, it was nothing major. It felt like a smoother revisit to the 16-bit generation, so I continued playing our greater library of Genesis games, even though the control pad was on the verge of meltdown. I never touched the Jaguar controller again, but in 1996, I was hooked on all magazine text relating to the M2, the new 64-bit 3DO console that was advertised as being the most powerful console to come. And then it was never released. I really don't know how I scraped up the cash for an EGM subscription, but I just drooled over games like Final Fantasy VII, Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, and Resident Evil. If there were any chance that I could get myself into the 32-bit generation, I just had to play those games. The Sony PlayStation, another 32-bit console, had already been released in the fall of 1994. But I wouldn't be seeing the next generation of gaming until my 17th birthday. In the late summer of 1997, my mother handed me that huge Holiday Fingerhut catalog and asked me to choose one thing out of there, anything, and she would buy it for me for my birthday. Of course, I went straight to the gaming section of the catalog, and the first thing I saw was the Nintendo 64, another 64-bit console with heavy hitters such as Mario 64, Wave Race 64, and F-Zero. I remember being shifted by my intimidation of my history with the NES, and I also saw the graphics to be too toony for my taste, and I was drawn to the console on the neighboring page, which was the Way Station, the You Are Not Ready station. Yes, the one I had seen so much of in the commercials and the few gaming mags that I may have drooled over. I had already rented the PlayStation from Blockbuster once before, and I remember how complex the controls were in Ace Combat and the Top Gun-esque realism of the homing missiles, CD quality audio in the explosions, voiceovers so easy to comprehend. I only tried the game out at the Blockbuster store, but the one that I rented was a basketball game called Slam and Jam, featuring Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I was sort of hoping it would be something like NBA Jam. I wasn't big on sports games, but my brother was, so I kinda got it for him. The game turned out to be a cross between arch rivals and Double Dribble, but in full 3D. There was also some NBA Jam in there, so it was kind of fun to play. I saw that the N64 had the highest bit count, with smoother textures, but I favored the sharper, often criticized jaggy look of the PlayStation games. Come to think of it, since games of this generation were now built using polygons, the PlayStation may have preserved the sprite aesthetic from 16-bit when choosing this direction of model design. Arcade games such as Street Fighter Alpha probably would never look as good as they did without this design decision. I had debated over getting the Street Fighter movie game with my new PlayStation, but the spiky-haired blonde guy with the big sword on his back won me over in the end. After all, I've been curious about what kind of game Final Fantasy VII was, since I saw images of it in an issue of EGM. a couple of my friends were talking about the game after I had finished it. The game felt weird to me in the beginning because I was slashing and shooting enemies with one button. I didn't know why I was easily dispatching them or why I was taking damage that I couldn't do anything about. It was only when I got vaporized by that giant mechanical scorpion robot multiple times that I thought, this game is garbage. But I was satisfied to learn that I was wrong. Inside the 3-disc Final Fantasy VII jewel case was also a thick instruction booklet, which contained a mini guide to defeat the mechanical scorpion, and from there, I was off to the chocobo races. I went from not sure about the game to fully immersed. Final Fantasy VII was my first turn-based RPG, and while I previously thought that I had made a mistake, I'm glad that I chose it as my first PlayStation game. The PlayStation controller was lightweight, with 3 buttons more than the standard Genesis pad and 3 less than the N64. That's not including the N64's analog stick. You see, the idea with 90s controllers was the more the better. So controllers with buttons A, B, and C would soon be advanced with 3 more buttons, X, Y, and Z. But the PlayStation controller was labeled differently. Instead of just letters, the PlayStation buttons were marked with shapes. Letters L and R on top of the controller symbolize your left and right pointers, while the face buttons were branded with 4 primary shapes: square, triangle, circle, and X? I think it's X, I'm not sure. I thought the button was X for maybe 25 years now, but since X is technically not a shape, I'm okay if people want to call it cross. I must admit though that while the controller had enough buttons to eliminate the need for start and select, for a lot of games like Crash Bandicoot, a different button could be used to perform the same action, while other buttons did nothing. Perhaps the extra buttons were there for accessibility purpose, in the case when a player feels comfortable pressing one button versus the other. But fighting games like Tekken 2 or Street Fighter Alpha 2 could not have had the same feel as the arcade versions, seeing as how 2 of the action buttons were placed on the shoulders of the PlayStation controller. Buttons X, Y, and Z, as marked on other brands, prioritized arcade gaming when designing their control systems, but Sony created a button arrangement of their own that was unique to the PlayStation, if at first seeming to be peculiar. There isn't enough space on this screen to display the majority of games I owned on PlayStation. The Fingerhut purchase was not cheap by a long shot, but the games were ranging from $50 to $20 maybe. They were surprisingly cheap for a 32-bit console, and I had a side job to help pay for them. I also subscribed to the PlayStation Magazine, which came with jam-packed demo disc that helped me decide what games to play. As the late 90s approached, even Pizza Hut got into the hype, giving out free PlayStation demo discs like they were Frisbees. Some games I remember from numerous tryouts were Tomba, Crash Bandicoot, Power Rapper the Rapper, and Jamalami. IQ, I played the mess out of that game. Blast Chamber, that was a good game too. It was bitty, but it was good. Tomb Raider 1 and 2, Black Dawn, Disruptor, Colony Wars, Warhawk, Destruction Derbies 1 and 2, Twisted Metal 2, Extermination, Gex 2, Enter the Gecko, really good one right there, Tunnel B1, Gran Turismo, Rage Racer, Ridge Racer, Battle Arena Toshinden, a forgotten fighting game, Tobal Number 1, Star Wars Fighter, I don't really know the name of that one, and Jet Moto 2. As I said before, there was a ton of stuff that I played on PlayStation, and it got even better when I learned that certain games would allow you to insert the music CD of your choice and listen to it while you played. I did that a lot with Ridge Racer and Jet Moto 2, I think. The PlayStation couldn't have come out at a better time. It was a teenage fantasy, and even Goldilocks would have thought, it's just right. Anyone could find something they liked on it. and the system maintained an ideal balance of innovation, gameplay, and stories like a favorite book or movie that is controlled by you. PlayStation was also the only console to make me believe that CD loading was a futuristic gaming feature. I hadn't even noticed because the loading was so brief for most games, and it was surprisingly convenient for arcade-style gaming too. I really enjoyed the Final Fantasy trilogy that came on the PlayStation. I also liked the Tekken 3 games. There were 3 of those as well. Also the 3 Resident Evils. And I also liked the 3 Medal of Honors. And Ridge Racer 4, Chrono Cross, Tomb Raiders 1 and 2, the Legacy of Kain series, and so many more. Kojima's Metal Gear franchise was also brought to PlayStation. The memory of playing the original on my NES was enough to ignite my interest. Metal Gear Solid pushed the PlayStation to the limit, bringing hours of dialogue and movie-like scenes that forever influenced the way we play games today. I tried against my brother again at a new football game called Madden NFL 2000. I just had to try a non-pixel sports game, that wasn't arcade style like NFL Blitz. I didn't want to feel like a cheater, so I haven't played another sports game since, guys. And this is only the half of it. I'll need to take a rest.